Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it.
Welcome to The First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
And today, we're talking about this week, Warhammer.
In Warhammer.
Quite a bit's happened. I mean, there's been some interesting things. There's been not really developments since last week, but we've gotten more information about some of the new stuff coming out. We've gotten some information about kind of preliminary results of how some of the releases prior have panned out.
Okay.
Well, we'd seen some results for how some of the latest codexes that have come out have kind of played.
Fair.
We've seen a little bit of some new factions being teased. Some of the stuff that we thought was coming but was confirmed. So, like Drukhari, for example, in 40k, we had the confirmation of them in this last week, as well as a couple of new character models that they'll be receiving.
Yeah.
A new Archon, which the old Archon was fine. It was very monopose. There was no options. There was no reposing.
Yeah, he looked like he was trying to score a 10 off the high dive, but like now this one is like a Space Marine captain, where it's like, here's a dozen ways you can build it.
Yeah, very customizable. Multiple different torsos, multiple weapons. The pose remains the same because they have to keep something. Yeah. You know, otherwise it's just you're just releasing two different models. You know, but then we also have a new named character, Archon,
Lady Malice,
being included. So that's super cool. I had seen some leaks of the book. It sounds like everything that was resin. Everything that was not planning on being continued because of that has been kind of cut. I don't remember seeing grotesques in the book, which I think is a kind of a weird one. For being homunculus covens, now you only have a few things. Grotesques, I think, was a big part. I don't recall seeing them.
I feel like some of these later stage, and the reason I say that is based on how their cycles have gone recently. I have to imagine we're going to get the announcement and release of 11th edition for next year at some point. Maybe that'll wait. Maybe at Adepticon we'll learn of the official.
I mean, if they're like changing things so that they're doing a new edition every 2 years now instead of 3 years,
that'd be insane. But yeah,
they could be alternating years that they're doing their main games, right? Like we had. I mean, 6 months basically, actually, because they're treating a lot of the games as main games now.
Yep.
We had a new edition for Blood Bowl was announced.
Yep.
We had a new edition for
Horus Heresy.
Horus Heresy. We had a new edition kind of, 18 months ago for Kill Team. We had a new edition for Age of Sigmar, obviously. 10th edition 40k wasn't that long ago. I mean, like,
next year would be the third year for 40k.
Okay. So there you go.
And based on the number of codexes they have left, I'm wondering if there's a chance that, because like Drukhari is one of those that for years hasn't gained much,
right?
And we've watched as older models fall off their roster. Everybody keeps wondering when will Asdrubal Vect come back? When will these other models be made in plastic? Now, if I were a betting man, I would say that in the design studio, I'm sure they've kicked those things around. It's always a matter of execution and then where do we put it.
Right.
And so it could be an army like that isn't getting much now because it's late in 10th and they don't want to make the mistake they did. I don't know if it was a mistake, but they don't want to do to the player base what they did when World Eaters and Astra Militarum came out right at the end of 9th.
Yep.
Right at the end with huge model releases, and then they're like, and 10th edition is coming out. This is all worthless now.
Yeah.
Because Lionel Johnson came out that way too with like super kick-ass rules. Here, have fun with him for 3 months, but he's going to be way different in a little bit. So I don't know. It could be maybe they're trying to be a little more cautious towards the end of an edition,
or maybe we're seeing that that being tied to like a book release schedule isn't how models are going to be released anymore.
Right.
Because I mean, we're with the rumors of AOS stuff coming. There's also things coming out within that are not tied
armies
to
that have already been released,
right? Like your characters coming out for an army that's been released, or like here's a one-off. Here's here's things released outside of within a campaign as opposed to within your codex release or your battle tome release. I mean, we saw that with Iron Jaws, right? They got a big release for their basic infantry.
Yeah,
that didn't come with a book,
right?
Their codex or their battle tome. That came with whatever the summer campaign was. I forget which one it was.
Well, and those 4 that they've shown us, the good news is all 4 of those were armies that definitely needed updated, and they don't have their battle tomes yet. But I think they could be testing with Age of Sigmar in particular this idea of just like the battle tomes are not indicative of all the models the army's going to get, even in one edition.
Right. I mean, Age of Sigmar has always kind of been a testing ground for what we think rules are. They're trying to test, to do a trial run of. And I think even what we're seeing now is a trial run of how trial runs will work, right? Because we've got this campaign that's kind of going on sort of in this edition, this season. Mm-hmm. And they're, giving us things like, well, here's a second version of a unit.
The Scourge of Gyron version.
And, we don't want to change this because we're not sure if we like the change or if the community will like the change. But
so here's a
second version of it that you can use instead of in order to trial run some of those proposed changes we're going to be making.
It also could be a soft run for, and I know we beat this into the ground a lot, converting to all digital rules.
Absolutely. I mean, because those units that we were talking about don't have a physical print in any way.
Nope.
Right? They are pure digital. They're not in the General's Handbook. They're not in the Codex. They're all digital.
And we've been around the games for a really long time, and I know others who have, and they just can't fathom the idea of there not being a printed Codex or Battle Tome, to where when you bring up this idea of converting digital, they blink at you,
right? And
are just like, but then what's my army going to? And it's like, I don't think the Codex and Battle Tomes are useless, but as far as, this sounds silly, but as a rules reference, they are useless.
Right. I like having a Battle Tome for my
I like it, yeah.
Right? But I don't want to buy 25 Battle Tomes.
So that I know all the rules for the game.
Right, just so I know I can play, right? Like, I don't want to have to rely on the opponent's word. I don't have to, grab their phone from them and verify that their rule is what it is, and it's like, oh, well you refuse to pay for the app. You use a third party. I can't verify that that's an accurate source.
Yep. And did you update the app since that last update came through? Or
we get FAQs, we get battle slates, we get all kinds of points updates and stuff that all come through digitally and they push through. And it's like, if you're relying on something like what's the big one, Battle Scribe, if that's still one that's around, it's like, well, you're at the mercy now of the community, whoever runs that that data pack, to then receive the updates, transcribe them properly, push out, have you updates, you get the right one, so that you can verify a third-party version of the data against the official data.
Yeah.
But I can't verify, because I need you to hand me your phone because I don't own your army's battle tome.
Right, they're all behind a wall.
Yeah, it's just it's.
And then even and then aside from the fact that the paper books themselves also not only are not good rules references because the stuff in there isn't valid within days.
Right. Or it's like, well, let me find this rule real quick. Hang on. You flip through all these pages and you're like, well, no, wait, it's before this.
It's before the gallery. No, wait, that artifact doesn't do that anymore. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Or it's like, oh, well, you're using an attachment that was never in this book.
Yeah.
Because this was from the summer campaign or the Christmas campaign when everyone got an update. That was never published either. It's all digital.
Yeah.
It makes it difficult to try to keep up with the game.
It's a little messy
when you're having to rely on all these different sources and paywalls and whatever. I'm already paying for the app. Why do I need to pay for the book? Let me see the rules. Let me reference just the stats. Maybe I don't need the army rules. Let me look at the stats of a unit.
Yeah.
Make sure that unit can actually attach to the unit you say it can, and it does what it says it does when it's attached or whatever.
What if Games Workshop is listening to this? We've talked about this a lot. Stop hiding the rules behind a paywall like that. But what if you still wanted to keep it so that the people with their army who buy the thing and unlock their code, what if all of the rules are available, but you can't build an army list with them in the app?
Right. Or, maybe the detachment rules. Make a compromise. The detachment rules and the stratagems are hidden unless you have the book. But like I said, at the very least, let me just see the stats of a unit.
Yeah,
it's just, I'm shooting at your unit. What's its toughness? I can't look it up myself. I have to rely on you.
Yeah, so even though you were looking up something else to make this attack, I don't know the toughness of your unit until you swipe back and then go to that thing. And so I just don't like the idea of rules being hidden behind a paywall anyway. And then you buy a book whose rules are not valid just to unlock the valid ones.
Yeah.
So I think Age of Sigmar could be, by doing this sort of, I don't want to say haphazard, but a looser release schedule where the book always comes with a model, yes, but that might not even be all the models or all the rules that Army gets for this edition.
Right.
And so maybe they're saying get used to the idea of digital.
Yeah. Well, and because like we said, the Iron Jaws release came outside of a release that was during
It was pretty big.
that was during a summer campaign. I mean, there's rumors of Age of Sigmar getting new stuff. There's rumors of a new Skaven character coming out. There's
Way outside of their book
there's
release.
all kinds of stuff like that. That like, yeah, don't lock me into saying, oh, in these 3 years, your army gets one update. Period. That's when the book comes out.
Yeah,
you better like it.
yeah.
You better hope, because I mean, there's so many times when I look online and I'm looking for the general public's take on a change or on an update. And when it came to like Night Haunt, for example, when they got their battle tome, a lot of the consensus was, well, this is way different. It's way worse. I'm going to go take my army. I'm going to put it on the shelf, and it's going to collect dust because this is so bad. I'm not even going to try to play with it. That sucks. That's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
That's your army, and it comes out and it's really underwhelming. Saying I will wait 3 years before I play this army again because the rules are so bad, because that's the release schedule, right? Oh, I got my battle tome now.
Right.
3 years on the day I'm getting a new update is basically how it feels.
Yep.
Right. Like I would start the cooldown now. Start the timer.
Yeah.
That feels bad. I don't think we operate in that system anymore.
Well,
Between these seasonal things and these fun updates they're getting, and all.
Well, and if they're willing to do the quarterly balance updates for their two main games, right, along with frequent erratas and points changes,
right,
then they need to. I don't know. Maybe they do need to just move to digital already, because.
Well, they've already done it for points.
I've seen people
points are no longer printed.
I've seen people playing games at our local store, and some of them aren't even aware of the digital stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just playing with the book, and so like they're referencing something, and then an argument breaks out about a rule because it's not that way anymore.
Right.
The Tyranid Codex is a classic example. Synapse doesn't work the way it works in the Codex anymore. And so then they get in an argument about that, and then people are like, but this is the printed rule. Shouldn't that be official?
If only that's how that worked.
Right? It's like, nope, the online version is more official.
Right. Then what did I pay this money for this?
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I know. Sorry.
And then it's like, how do you even recommend to people getting into the game who are new?
Right.
And then it's like, well, what's this book? Is that what I need for army? And then you have to say like, well, yes, but no. You need to spend that $60 and then never use it. You need to just spend the $60 so you can use it in your phone.
Right.
Like, I don't know. That's a bad system. I think they are soft testing the idea of just phasing to a digital rule system. Games Workshop is not, if anything, I mean, they are pioneers in some aspect. In the minute they have to be. You are the industry leader in this. Their valuation, I think, just came in at like $5 billion or something, which is way above.
Yeah.
So they have to be willing to like rip some of those. That's not even ripping a Band-Aid anymore. That Band-Aid's been in a swimming pool and like has turned
this
gray.
Band-Aid, you've taken multiple showers with it.
Yeah.
It's starting to frail on the edges.
You keep like pushing it back on your skin.
It slipped off a few times and you just slipped it on like a ring.
Yep.
It's that. It's ready to come off.
It's left that ring of residue around it, like on your skin. It's time to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
You eventually pull it off, and it leaves like bald spots where the hair underneath was so fused.
And think of this.
Gone.
We've talked about also where it would save in like publishing costs, and you could still release the
especially
special ones with the box sets.
Especially because it's like, well, you're trying to distribute these paper products, these physical paper products, which don't weigh nothing, by the way.
No, those are heavy.
Printed in one very specific spot across the world from where they're trying to get to. Everyone around the world plays this. Like maybe if we were all trapped in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Like where they're based, and you were distributing models and paper books and whatever, they're all printed there, and like, yes, okay, it's a very short distance to have to move this stuff. It makes sense, right? But like the US is a huge market.
Massive.
And as far as I can tell, not much of this stuff is produced here.
Nope.
Right? It's all imported. It's all sent over here from either China or the UK or wherever they're making it, right? Or look at New Zealand or Australia. There's places like that where it's like, this is so far away. Trying to get this paper over to there, it's like, it's a logistical nightmare, and it's unnecessary.
Expensive
and
too.
It's probably not great for the planet, shipping all that stuff. When we could easily just click a button and download it.
Well, and to the extent that it's also heavy, paper in mass is heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about pallets and pallets and pallets of these books, and they print them in 24 languages.
And they print them 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
And you get leaks because people have seen the pages.
Yeah,
and
they're
snap
sitting
photos of
somewhere
them.
in a warehouse.
You know, like, you ever think about that? If you just have it all digital, you really can't leak a digital file
That's right.
in a photo form to, like,
Yep.
or like have a need for such a lead time. So say you want to produce something, but the book's not ready and won't be ready for 12 months, and so you delay. That's awful. It's handicapping yourself unnecessarily. You know. So I don't know. It's just the more we talk about it, the more it's like it's a no nonsense thing.
Yeah.
The only thing holding it back is the fact that I think they cost money and they make money off of the books, right?
They do. I do wonder, like, the cost and logistics of doing all that is just so heavy, though. And I do think they could free up not only their release schedule, but warehouse space, because books take up a ton of space. And think of how stores could carry so much less.
Right.
You get rid of the books, and now you free up shelves for just more models, more paint, more whatever. I don't know. I think it's time to do away with them, and you make them a collector's item.
I mean, it's if you wanted to have collector's items for lore, for campaigns, for
painting galleries,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can make it available, sure, but don't require it. Don't require we've got a subscription-based app for a purpose. Let's start utilizing that.
Yeah.
You know, if you want more people to sign up for your digital service and stop going third party, I think the reason why more people are using it is because they don't feel like it's worth it, right? Like a once a year special edition model diorama is like not enough of an incentive to like sign up for the app.
No.
If you had, if you were actively signed up for the app and you got access to all the current rules and a list builder, like that would be enough for people to sign up, I think, right? Like instead of having to do all that plus also buy the book for every army you want to see the rules for. It's just, I mean, even if it costs a little bit more than it does, right? Because it's not that expensive right now. It's what, like $3 a month?
Super not expensive.
I don't know, maybe more than that. $4 a month? I don't know. It's just could be better,
Could be.
But regardless of that kind of stuff, this week we did get a lot more information about, like I said, a couple of armies got leaked, Drukhari being one of them, but also rules embargo lifted on the Helsmiths of Hashut.
Well, and people have started to show off their painted minis.
And they're starting to get them in hand as well, even just like normal people that don't get them.
So I want to say, when we saw them at a big preview event not that long ago, I thought the ETA on them was TBD.
6 months down,
And now the pre-orders today.
Yeah.
So we're recording on Saturday. The pre-orders today.
Yeah.
So they're already here.
Yep.
Which, cool. That wasn't a big long tease. Like you saw a brand new army, and now they're here.
It does feel a little bit like design change, as we had discussed before. With this book, there's lots of modern books in this edition are getting a lot more resource management, a lot more synergistic buffs, and it makes the power level of it feel a little higher than early books.
They do seem on paper, which they shouldn't be printing on. They do seem very strong.
Yeah. So like the flexibility of being able to sign out their power tokens essentially and get sort of command abilities without using command abilities to at whatever like varying power level you need them to be at the time makes for a very flexible army rule. And it's an army rule that does it, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a very strong army rule that contrasts very strongly with a lot of other books that have very weak army rule. In addition to that, it looks like the stats on the units themselves are also very high. They've got very good stats.
Strong,
decent armor saves, maybe lower wound counts, but lots of attacks. They've got rend, they've got durability where they need it. It seems like a very strong book, but it makes me lament a little bit for the armies that got early books because they pale in comparison to this. Right? Like your Skaven and your Stormcast and your Slaves of Darkness. We can't discount them enough.
Oh my goodness!
Just very kind of weak army rules, very low synergy, very very little that they gain out of.
It's funny. It's like I'm not a wholesale believer in codex creep because we see examples of armies that are in index form in both games that end up really strong for a long time. But in Age of Sigmar 4.0, that first wave of battle tomes they released.
Yeah.
Now, Skaven right now are currently competing very high.
Yep. Because of a Gyron War Scroll.
Because of Scourge of Gyron update.
Yeah.
And then Stormcast, it's always, you never know. Stormcast just have such a wide availability of minis that they can sometimes compete and sometimes they don't.
Yep.
But a lot of that first wave, we'll call it, because we think it's either 6 to 8 armies that they test at a time and release, and then you feel the difference when they get to the next chunk. Those ones, just strong or weak, in terms of their flavor and fun, they feel so bland compared to what we're seeing with the new stuff. And these Helsmiths of Hashut, while it's brand new, so it's always going to have that shock value, out of the gate, they look immediately fun and strong.
Yep.
They really do. They feel like they can do a little bit of everything.
I mean, in addition to getting brand new models, they kind of have broken some of the rules for what they're trying to do this edition of like, hey, it doesn't matter what weapons you came out with, what you released with, you have just these base rules.
Yep. That way you can model
you're a
however you
Saurus
want.
warrior that you got a new kit for. You can either take spears or maces. You just have weapons.
Yep.
But these Helsmiths of Hashut can take spears or axes. They get different rules for each weapon loadout.
Yep.
It's like you literally did the same thing to other newer kits recently and flatten them, whereas these ones you're going wide with because you need to generate more war scrolls to fill out the book. I don't know.
I think it's two things. The obvious one is you sell the army by making them cool.
Yep.
But the other is that I think, and I have nothing to base this on, the Helsmiths of Hashut are going to be another one of their Lumineth Realm Lords type armies, where every edition they put a lot into them.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an army they expand. Because you can really put some weird ideas and then expand what this deity of Hashut is. And so right now, though, they need to just expand the War Scrolls. And I think you're right. So I think it's like, let's give this one unit 2 profiles.
Right.
It doesn't even make 2 different, but let's make 2 profiles. Yeah.
Different point values, different rules entirely.
Yeah.
It's like, Whereas you could even give the Storm Vermin a gun. The leader has a gun modeled, and you couldn't give him a rule
But he
for
has
that?
no rules.
Okay.
That's a weird one to me.
It's a really weird one.
They love doing WYSIWYG rules.
Yeah.
He has a gun and no rules for it.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
To me, it doesn't matter if you give a weapon profile, whether it's a mace, a sword, an axe, a club, whatever. But when you give them a weapon and then you put 0 profiles there, that's weird.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Especially a gun.
I know. Weird. But like I said, the exact same example of swords and shields versus spears and shields. Other armies have that exact same weapon loadout options for the entire unit, and there's just no differentiating them for them. But these ones do. It's just odd.
It's weird.
It's inconsistent.
Have Seraphon gotten their book yet?
I don't remember.
Because they might be waiting for that.
Think so.
Like we might see that when they come around. Who knows? Maybe they'll be in this group.
But they had gotten brand new Saurus warriors. Remember?
I know. But I'm just saying maybe their War Scroll in the next.
Yeah, maybe.
Which
I highly doubt that they will undo that. I don't know.
But speaking of, what roadmap for AOS do we have?
Well, so we've got the 4 armies.
We know that
they
yes.
showed off. Yeah, but we don't really have much else. There still isn't much.
We're still caught up.
Yeah, I mean, we're caught up. We just have the rumors, and we've got those 4.
And we don't even know how much that means those armies are getting.
Right, or when, either.
No ETA.
So
we know they gave us pictures of painted minis. That's usually a sign that's coming.
It didn't look like if I look at the Bone Reaper picture. That looks like a vial of grave sand that are usually carried around by like the characters.
Yeah.
My pessimistic side tells me that Bone Reapers, when they get their update in this, it's going to be a new character and that's it.
Model in a book.
Yeah, model in a book. Whereas like I said, we've got tons of rumors for two of the armies listed. Tons of rumors of things that they're going to get, which are the ogres and the Nurgle.
Fire Slayers and Magakin.
But the Fire Slayers. There are lots of conflicting things going on.
There are.
I mean, I had seen basically it was a post of someone who was trying to defend a rumor. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It kind of reminded me of like you remember that video from like the late 90s of the kid crying about Britney Spears? Leave Britney alone. Remember that one? Remember that video?
Yep.
It felt a little bit like that, where this person came out of nowhere. No one was talking about anything, and was like, "Leave White Fang alone." The famous leaker right?
Yeah.
Because people are kind of thrown. I mean, and we're included in this. Are kind of thrown around the idea of like, well, what do the dwarfs look like in AOS in the future? Because if there was a rumor about no Fireslayer book with the name Fireslayers, what is that army going to look like? If not cut from the game, which would be insane, what form do they take? What do they look like? Well, we also have the examples of the normal dwarven holds that are currently in Age of Sigmar's Cities of Sigmar army. I don't expect them to stay there. Some of it has already gone back to the old world and made the dwarfs,
Yeah, we've talked about
back
that a lot.
home.
We've talked about that.
But like, what do dwarfs look like in Age of Sigmar going forward? Well, could it be a combined army like the Orc War Clans, right? Could it be a combined army like, if there was like an elf coalition where all like the disparate elf armies that had the holdover models and holdover factions band together, right? Could it look like, I don't know, Daughters of Cain, where it had a few different types of things all kind of mixed? I don't know.
I think so on that. I think elves and dwarves will be treated a little different. I think the elves are slowly each becoming their own faction. With Lumineth, I think we'll get the Tyrian expansion eventually,
Right.
and I think the Malarian elves will come into being eventually. Whether they'll be in Daughters of Cain or their own, we don't know.
Right. I think it'd be very interesting because I think a Malarian faction would have to pull over some of those traditional Darkling covens things, right? Like your sorceresses, your heavily armored dark evil looking elves, your Blackguard of Nagaron models.
I just think none of the old models will make it though.
I think that's likely.
Yeah.
But evoking that style.
Yeah.
Similar to how like the Lumineth evoked the style of the High Elves from Old World.
Yeah.
These will evoke those.
I don't think any of the elves will combine. And I think of the dwarves, I think Caradrons will remain their own completely separate thing because now their roster's been expanded a bit. But it could be that whatever the dispossessed look like, the whole dwarves, they might make... So look at the box set we're getting for Helsmiths, or that we get for armies every so often anyway. I could see a dispossessed box set with a couple of kits outside of it, and they just fold the Fireslayers in, and that's one army now.
Yeah.
And so...
I kind of feel like they did that with ogres initially.
Right. Now you have a couple ways to play where it's like, oh, you have these classic defensive dwarves, and then you have these aggressive priesty Urgold slayers.
Right. And so that was my point was like, well, we don't know what form it's going to take. We've theorized it could be something like that.
Yeah.
And other people in the community have also theorized, well, it could be something like that. But we don't know what form it's going to take. We don't know what extent a Fireslayer update.
But that
if
would
any.
explain if people didn't see a Fireslayer's book on the docket.
And I think that makes sense. I think we're using logic here.
Yeah.
We're not just making shit up.
Well, and them showing that model means, okay, the army's not going away.
Right. They're going to get something that's going to resemble the newest aesthetic.
Yeah.
Right. Because they had that Warcry warband. That was
what's Warcry?
Had way more armor and way more decoration and stuff beyond just being a naked dwarf. The same copy and pasted naked dwarf with loincloth across the entire army. Like there were character amongst the models. You know what I mean? But the post was like, that's not what's going to happen. Leave him alone. He never said that. And it was such a weird, like, whiny thing. It's just like, also, it's like, also, who the fuck are you?
So
why would I even believe it?
So the funny thing is,
who you are.
So the funny thing is, that's not new. You go back to the years with the forums. It reminds me of A Christmas Story. The little toady who followed the bully around.
Yeah.
Who stood up for him, like no matter what, and felt tough because the bully was there. Yeah. It was like you get but they're not necessarily a bully, but you always had these rumor mongers that became so trusted that if anyone else had a rumor, they were discredited because it didn't come from that one. Mm-hmm. And then you had those. You had they would come to the rescue, the sort of white knights time, like, leave them alone. They've been so good for the community. And it's like, and that's, I don't know why. Whose life is like that, where I guess you got to jump in and defend the rumor monger? Sometimes they might be wrong. That's why they're called rumors. Right. Maybe.
Well, they had made these predictions before, but they made changes. Like, the changes they made with this and the Spider faction for thing that was all canceled, but it was going to be a thing. So the rumor back then was real, but then they made a decision to change it. It was like that was the post.
By the way, but with no proof of any of that happening.
Yeah. Also,
by the
who
way,
are you?
Yeah. Who are you?
Like who even are you? That
so
get out.
So it's just like when we last week talked about how they said GW preview event, GW pulled the plug on preview event. GW pivoted on preview. It's like we have no proof any of those three things happened.
Yeah. GW never confirmed this.
Yeah.
People suspected and took it as fact.
Yeah.
People backtracked on their statements that they made factual that they made factual claims without any proof.
Yeah.
You know,
and so
like,
that's what that sounds like. It's like, well, okay, so they had a rumor. They maybe misread it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they made it up. Who knows? And then
I think it's just a wild assumption. Be like, well, we had it last year. We had an edition announcement last year at this convention. Surely we're gonna have something else. Let's identify what they're actually going to show. And it's like nothing. They didn't say they were. That was what it boiled down to.
No. And so that could be the case with these rumors too. What we do know is GW confirmed with that Age of Sigmar teaser, Fire Slayers still exist.
Yep. Fire Slayers still exist. Ogres are still going to stick around.
Yp.
We saw the belly plate.
And then the other two are no surprise. Magakin and Ossiarch, okay, whatever.
Yep.
But we know those two are sticking around. So, and it would have been silly if Fire Slayers didn't because they were an AOS exclusive army.
Cut them?
Yeah, just...
Oh, sales numbers aren't good enough. Remove them.
They're gone.
Well, the lore says that, these other factions were attacking the Fire Slayers. They lost their war, so all the Dwarven holds that had Fire Slayers are destroyed.
It turns out the cave that the Fire Slayers lived in was where a genie lamp was stored, and when it was reburied there, the cave was buried, or something, right?
Oh, they got sad, and they decided to burrow down into the ground, and they hid forever. Lord of the Rings style, where the Dwarven holds just close, and they just disappear from the world.
Yep.
That's Fire Slayers.
We don't like this anymore. We'll come back in 1,000 years. Yeah.
World of Man.
Yep.
Age of Man, whatever.
Yeah. So we do have confirmed they're sticking around.
Yeah, that's good.
And as far as a book, it could just be they're going to do a combined dwarf.
Even if it's not like here are two armies that work together. Again, Orc War Clans.
Yeah.
It's two separate armies in the same book.
Yep.
There's an army of renown to play them together.
Yeah.
They're not two armies that play.
I actually think
interact at all.
I actually think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Because then, if you are someone who plays, let's say you're a loyalist to Ironjaws, you now not only as a sales tech is that smart for GW to be like, well, you play Ironjaws, you're loyalist to Ironjaws, but now you've got
I did that.
These 25 other kits.
Bullshit. And I actually bought mine for the Orc Ironjaws, but then I realized that I had 3 boxes from the 3rd edition starter set that had enough
Orc War Clans.
Had enough Cruel Boys to play a full army out of. And so I've been building and painting them,
Well, and speaking of, the new Helsmiths have Hobgoblin or Hobgrots.
Hobgrots, yeah.
And so there's a little more crossover if you want conversion kits for Cruel Boys.
Absolutely.
But anyway, we're only speculating. I think with those 4, until they tell us what it means, we're caught up again.
Yep.
We're still in this weird perpetual caught up state, which is just bizarre.
Yep, I don't like it.
In the world of Warhammer. But I think there could be something big coming. In 2026, I fully expect, without basis for anything other than the pattern in recent years, that we'll get the announcement of the next edition of 40k.
Yep.
And I think they like to keep the 40k edition in a year by itself, because it is that big of a game. Whereas we got both Horus Heresy and Blood Bowl and whatever this year. Age of Sigmar was kind of on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those they'll keep, like the Winter and Summer Olympics, right? You keep them on separate.
Right.
But that said, I don't know. We don't know what else is really coming for either system. We're just pretty much caught up.
Like I said, besides Drukhari, that's it.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
But even then, I think they showed us what they're getting, which is 2 models.
Yeah.
And a book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a kind of an interesting time because it's like you said, it's
you know what though, this might be like the Band-Aid ripping time for both games. I think right now they're phasing so many old kits out.
Well, and then I wonder what are we building up to as well? What's I know there were rumors about big actual 4th edition developments.
Yeah.
Right? For Age of Sigmar, because we really haven't had a big campaign that paid off on death being a major factor, major player.
The Skaven story hasn't continued,
right?
And
we're getting a little bit of that from the Warhammer
Plus
show.
Cartoon.
We're seeing some of that.
The Toll of Sigmar.
But there's supposed to be something where Nagash is back and he's rectifying, or he's angry at the Skaven because they're unattainable soul material.
And they always screw him over.
And they always screw him over. He's got a big grudge.
Yeah.
It's time for him to start coalescing again, right? So we'll see about that. But I mean, that lines up with a Bone Reaper update, right? That's his legion, basically.
Yeah.
That's if you look at one faction that's like he should be in it, it's part of his thing. It's Bone Reapers. All the other ones serve him in a way, but Bone Reapers are his legion that he developed to combat the soul theft from Sigmar and from the elves and from all these other factions. So we could see something like that. But there was also like a big rumor about a big summer campaign stuff coalescing in some way. You know,
I think they like treating Sigmar that way, or AOS that way, a little more than 40k.
Yeah.
It's funny, is like 40k is the game, but it's a little more sterile, clinical, and it's release style. Whereas like with AOS, they really try to do that sort of. So again, it makes me a little sad for those like first 6 books, because they are just now they're getting additional stuff, but they started off so bland. The edition started off so bland after a huge release, to where now it's like, well, wait a minute, now you're just going to splash releases in, which is super cool, and you've got some event coming. You've been doing these seasons with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe there is something big coming. They said this edition was going to be big, so.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
I wonder if it's just.
But we don't know what it means.
Have things gotten delayed? Have things gotten
Is there
pushed?
anything in the rumor engine that's been leading you to
the rumor
AOS?
engine, to me,
Other than Sylvaneth?
I was going to say Sylvaneth looks like a big,
They might get a big
really
release.
strong contender.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that are hinting towards that. Little like glow bugs and little antlered things and people wrapped up in vines and things like that.
So it would be 2 editions in a row that they got a pretty big release.
There was a teaser we had a couple weeks ago that looked like a Kurnoth arrow head.
Yeah.
Like dead ringer for the arrow.
I don't think it could be anything else.
I mean, yeah, what else could that be? I mean, we've had a little bit of
They'll randomly
do
do a tree chamber for Lumineth for some reason.
That'd be ridiculous.
Because, wasn't that the thing with Stormcast, where it was like every idea they had for any kind of bestial cavalry, they just gave them to Stormcast and no other
we
army?
got these big cat dog things, Stormcast. Hey, we got dragons. Give them a Stormcast. We got bird dogs. Just give them a Stormcast. Let them have it all. Hey, we got another round of bird dogs. What should we give? No, give them the Stormcast too.
We have another type of dragon that flies.
Nope.
Stormcast.
Give it.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's really funny. I mean, to be fair, like they have come up with a lot of cool things. Like, well, Seraphim didn't get dragons; they got new coal ones.
Oh, the new Seraphim release was great. Yeah,
like so. I mean, there was a little bit of a payoff that way, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
Hard to say. So on the conversion front.
Yep.
So first of all, you do, although we don't talk about 40k as much, you do have them Raven Guard.
Yes, I do.
You've got a sexy Chapter Master model coming out.
Yes, I do.
Now, what are you going to do with him? Are you buying 2? Are you going
him
to
straight up?
Straight.
No, he's cool enough.
Going straight.
He does not need converting, in my opinion. He is dripping with flavor.
You know what's funny is it's rare that it's ever something like that, but I think that model may be.
I think he's contender for Model of the Year.
An early Model of the Year contender.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
I say early, but we're more than halfway through the year.
Like all the other 5 characters that came alongside him don't measure up.
They're fine.
They're cool. They
They're
fit
fine.
their chapter. They're aesthetically pleasing.
If the release was just those 4, it would have been fine.
Right.
He though was like that one was a really nice, characterful design that just goes above.
Yep.
And they did the thing that we talked about last week, where you want your captains should bling more than lieutenants, sergeants, soldiers. Chapter masters are supposed to be legendary. Mm-hmm. People in the galaxy never meet them. They need to be dripping with what makes them the master of a chapter. And now technically there's thousands of those because there's so many chapters, but like
Shrike didn't
but when you're when you're in one of the founding legions and you're a chapter, and you're right, Shrike didn't do that. He was just a guy.
Yep.
Cool captain, right? So I think that's why they did this. And then they just wrote in the lore of like, oh, once this guy came out, Shrike was like, okay.
He realized he focused too much time on one aspect and couldn't fulfill the threefold path of the shadow. So stepped back and just became.
And it's funny is I saw someone who posed them together, and it for some reason made the Shrike look better when he was with Aethon Shan, or Sean, or however it's pronounced. But like that model, that Aethon Shan that's going to be one that they do the model of the year, and I bet a lot of people pick it because everybody was like, I can't wait to paint that one.
I mean, even people that we know that have no attachment, no
loyalty to the Raven
at
Guard.
all.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I need that model. I mean, same thing with like the Catan shard of the Nightbringer that
Oh my
like,
goodness,
that one 100%.
That we don't have an ETA
I don't
on
have
though, right?
I don't have Necrons anymore, but like
No.
I'm gonna have to get that one again.
Because it measures up to what the Catan shard of the Void Dragon was, and now the Deceiver's going to eventually come, right? And they're going to make it look cool like that. Yeah.
And maybe even come out with a new one, right? Like we had the Unbound.
Oh, yep.
Which was basically just a generic like one.
The Tesseract Vault
but
one.
But like, why not come out with a new one in addition?
Well, so just like we talked about a couple weeks ago, where the Chaos deities are more than just the 4, and Chaos itself fights itself because it's Chaos. So you have like 4 and 4 is how it represents, right? As far as I know in the lore, there are more Catan than were just those 3.
Right. But we've only ever had lore for these 3 important ones.
Yeah.
But there are significantly more out there.
Yeah.
That with different aspects.
The sort of Star Eater gods that they're based on. So they could at any point in the future, But now I have to imagine, who knows, maybe it might be a while because they spread out their centerpieces, but like you could have next edition Necrons get their update and it's like, here's the Deceiver in plastic and it looks great now.
Yep.
Yeah. Because both of these now are... That Nightbringer did not disappoint.
No, he didn't.
So that's another model of the year candidate already. It's not even out yet. I don't even know when we're supposed to... Do we have a date on that yet?
I mean, it's with the next... Not even the next kill team. It's the next one after the next one. Unless they decide to change the schedule. But again, we don't have roadmaps. We don't have ETAs.
Well, I saw
have anything, right?
The Deathwatch and Necron one was in store today.
Which is the Cryptek Necron one.
Which looks great.
Yep.
All the Necron models are cool looking, and of course the Deathwatch look really good because they're scaled up a little bit, and then Eric Swinson, a very notable painter, painted his entire team in a super high standard because he got them early. Mm-hmm. He actually had them on display at Nova in one of those Artis Opus like light up boxes.
Yeah.
Whew, they look real good.
The cube, whatever display boxes.
Yeah, and I sat there talking to Byron, who's the guy who does the Artis Opus painting videos. And that box with Eric's Deathwatch were right there, and that was, they look real sharp.
I mean, it's kind of cool when you see sort of a professional painter actually get a release for an army that they're passionate about and the one they actually collect.
Yeah.
And not just being like, oh, well, I paint this because I was given it early and I have an obligation.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, this is my army, and I actually got an update,
Kill Team,
and I got them, and now I have them, and I'm going to paint them until a really good
Well,
standard.
that's what motivated me to that topic we broached last week of the popularity now of these like skirmish-sized games.
Sure.
Because someone like him, who is a professional painter, and Eric's one of the best. I mean, I got to meet Francesco Farabi, who's a world-renowned Italian painter, and he speaks highly of Eric. He talks about Eric as this like S tier, and Eric's a super cool guy, but like, because he's so busy, because he has to paint on stream and he has to do feedback episodes and he has to do private tutoring sessions and he paints at classes and conventions and he does commissions and he just doesn't have time to really play games.
Right.
Kill Team became a draw for him because he's like, well, I like the aesthetic of 40K, but I don't want to collect 2,000 points and then show up to a game after, you have to bring hundreds of models with you and then sit at a store or at a house and play for 3 hours. And do that thing that 40K is famous for where it's my opponent's turn. That means I stand here for 40 minutes and you tell me what dice to roll.
Right.
And so, which Age of Sigmar is not like that, by the way. It's far more interactive. But I was thinking about that today. But for him, who doesn't like doing slap chop or something to just get through an army, he's not going to put his best into his army.
Right.
But it was like when I was trying to figure out a scheme for my Tyranids. It was like, I want that thing that's repeatable and fast but looks really good anyway. And so he really enjoyed Kill Team because... he's like, I can just take this one box of Raveners, or this one box of Scouts, or in this case, one box of Kill Team, and I can just make them look nice and sharp, and that really pleases both sides of you if you're both a gamer and a painter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a wonderful balance. And so even though I've been sort of partying with my Tyranids recently, that new Ravener box is now in stores. I might get it anyway because they look real good. They do. And I guess they're good. And I might learn to play Kill Team, like, because I just can't get in games of 40K anymore. Like, I'll keep my AOS armies, but... Yeah.
Well, I mean, and 40K is such a beast, too, is that you're not keeping up with it. The amount you need to know when, like, a new book comes out... It's such a dense amount of information.
And the meta in that just moves so fast.
Here's the new codex for Drukhari. Is it any good? And you look through and you're like, this is like 14 pages of like dense rules and
I have no idea if it's
stratagems
good.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got no idea if it's good or not. I don't know. It's just there's so much,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, these 8 stratagems are only for this one detachment, and here's the detachment rule. Here are another 8 for this one detachment here. It's just like, man, it's a little hard to like evaluate that stuff on the fly when you're not keeping up with it. You know what I mean? It's like, is it any different? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, some of this stuff seems pretty good, but...
And then when you dip your toe into the discussion, you read it and think, well, nothing really changed. Then you dip your toe into the discussion, and the people who do know, it's like, oh, wow, all that changed, and I didn't. So I don't know. So, and that was like, I picked up some Blood Bowl at Nova. I talked about it. I was like, these skirmish games where I can paint just a handful of models real nice, that's kind of like appealing to me now. And so, and then you see someone like that who paints at that level, and you see him in person. I've talked about this before. It's one thing to look at pictures on Instagram or X or whatever. The models in person, to me anyway, I always like the look of it better, even though it looks perfect in a photo. The look of it in 3-dimensional space, when you can see the matte finish versus the satin finish, you can see the brushstrokes kinda, you can tell what happened. I love looking at them in person when they're painted to that level.
It's outside of the auto filters. You're using your eyes as
it's
a filter
inspiring even
instead of a lens from a camera.
It's motivating because you'll look at what they did and you're like, okay, maybe I can get something close to that. I don't know. So that was motivating to see. I wouldn't buy a whole huge 2-player Kill Team box set that's like $300 or whatever, but
I might. I have,
because that one's out now.
Yeah, a lot.
But it comes with a lot. They come with a lot of terrain, don't they?
A lot of the Kill Team boxes are actually pretty worthwhile because they do come with a board and a setting and terrain to play and stuff like that. A lot of the ones that were kind of smaller were like 2 teams plus like some scatter terrain, and they weren't too bad, right? They were.
Well, maybe we'll get that.
125,
but I want the Death Watch.
Bucks,
you can have the
that
Necrons.
kind of thing. I don't know. Find me a box that I'm really interested in.
Yeah. But I might get the Raveners just for that.
I had Grey Knights a long time ago. If they come out with like a Grey Knight team versus demons, I think I'd pick up something like that.
Now, is that rumored to be on the way?
We're extrapolating that information
because the Nightbringer, whatever that's going to look like, is supposed to be the release after next.
Right. So
so the current release is out now.
The fact that we've got the different Ordos are represented in this like 3-slot release. So you've got Ordo Xenos versus Necrons, which just came out.
Yep.
You've got Ordo Hereticus versus the new Chaos Marines.
Is that the one with Seraphim?
No, that's the new.
Or I'm sorry,
the new Sisters of
Sororitas.
Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called. It's a made up word, but they're basically like the Battle Sisters with like the heavy armor and shields and halberds and stuff like that. Versus the Heretics, which is or the Malleus, whatever the Ordo is that fights Chaos Marines. It's versus them. The third idea is that it is versus Malleus. So it would be Hereticus. Malleus would be versus the actual demons themselves, not just like the followers of the demons. And what Ordo fights against Malleus is the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
So you'd have your 3 main...
The chapter nobody knows exists, but exists.
You have your 3 main Ordos that battle across the galaxy represented in this one update, right? You got aliens, demons, and heretics.
Speaking of various Ordos within the Imperium, side note, and then we'll get a little more hobby focused here. Also, speaking of Eric Swinson, he gives us thoughts in his chat almost every week. He doesn't think the Adeptus Custodes should exist as an army in 40k.
I agree. We've all thought that.
And it's
sorry, we have.
And it's like and it's not even just for the sake of
it's the same reason why I don't think we should have like Exodites as an army.
Well, yeah, and so he wasn't even talking about their rules or whether they're good or bad or whatever. He was just like, when you read about what they are and what their function is, I don't like that they're playable. And you're right, Exodites are that way. People used to try to, when are we going to get Adeptus Arbites as an art? It's like, they're space cops. Why would you ask the NYPD to go fight in Iraq? Like, it doesn't...
But my issue with that is, it's like, you could have enough cops. Hey, everyone from every city, send your cops here. We're going to create an army out of cops.
You could... But that wouldn't be a galactic fighting force, right?
But you look at something like the Exodites or like the Beast Snaga boys from 40k, right? Those orcs, like they were orcs that were trapped on one planet,
right?
That couldn't fly.
Or when people say like, oh,
Exodites.
They need to do that, and they name a random beetle Xenos that existed on one far-flung planet, or the Harud, or it's like those do not have.
It's a single planet. It's not a galactic force.
No, and
right.
So the Custodes, it's like, I know Gilliman went there and was like, there's 10,000 of you and your amazing warriors, get out and fight. Okay, that's the lore reason they gave him an army. But
But it's also like, well, there's only 10,000 of you.
Yeah.
How can you be in every theater of war represented as a
I mean, a Space Marine chapter only has 1,000.
Yeah.
But there are thousands of Space Marine chapters.
Right.
And you have, of course, the Astra Militarum, which is huge. But like the idea that the Custodes all of a sudden are a venture out fighting force.
Right. Well, let's just hop in our ships. It's like, what do you mean? You don't have ships.
You don't have spaceships. Also, they're
how are you navigating? Like,
while they are amazing warriors individually,
yeah.
they don't show any like tactical acumen in terms of formations, maneuvers, and whatever.
I think the Custodes should have been something akin to the Assassins or something like that, or like an Inquisitor, where it's like you can field a few of them in any kind of Imperial army.
Unit,
right. But it's not like, but you don't make an army, right? Like you don't make an army of. I mean, granted, you only need 30 of them total to field 2,000
they're outnumbered
points.
all the time, yeah.
But it's just like it was just a weird thing. The same thing with knights. Like I don't think there should have been an army of knights. That was a bad decision.
The knight houses, yeah.
You know, you cracked that egg, but right? Like I don't like it. I don't know, that kind of thing. But yeah, the cries for Exodites for Eldar, but like you've got one planet where these exist.
They're like feral Eldar on dinosaurs. Why do you want an army of them?
Around this? We're the Megarachnids. From one story, one time, there were these giant beetles. Like, what do you mean make an army out of that?
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, what are we going to do about the Megarachnid threat? Just don't go to that fucking planet. Like, we roped that planet off. There's one planet where there are...
Or fly that one battle barge over and exterminate us.
The planet. Like, the reason we haven't done that is it's a waste of ammunition. They're not leaving.
No.
You know,
they have no way to leave the planet.
It's that kind of thing.
They're not a threat.
I mean, initially when the Tau came out, they were kind of on that level. It was weird.
They were like one star system.
It was weird when the Tau came out and they were like, oh, a new faction for the entire game. It's like, why? You've got orcs that have tens of thousands of planets. You got the Imperium that spans millions of worlds. Here's the Tau who have like 4 planets total in one system. Yeah. Why are they an army? Now they've expanded, and then like they've expanded into more of a threat to the Imperium, but it's still just one tiny little pocket in the corner of the galaxy. Yep. That's like they're not Necrons. Well, Necrons are on every single planet in the entire galaxy. There are untold, infinite number of Necrons that haven't.
They're just asleep.
Yet. Yeah. With the Tau, the Tau exists. That's all that there are.
In the Tau, you know? It's funny is every codex has that map of here's where this army occupies. Tau occupy one space.
Right. You're like, whoa, that's a huge when you zoom in. And you zoom out and you're like, okay, no.
They don't even have disconnected empires. They have one space.
Yeah.
They don't even I don't even think they have warp travel. I think they because they don't use the warp.
Well, they have fast and light travel that isn't the warp through their allies. So they do have ways to travel quickly.
Okay.
But it's not like...
But they rarely leave their systems, right? They mostly defend.
Yeah. Well, then they got separated by a thing, and now they're all disjointed, so they're not doing anything.
Well, and then whenever they've expanded, it's funny, is they've always done a 40k campaign story to be like, and while this was happening, no one was looking, the Tau expanded. Yeah. They stole 2 systems. Like.
Yep.
Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.